Welcome to the first episode of the Walking Home podcast. I'm so happy to have Han City here
Thank you
on
so
with
much.
me. I appreciate you being here for this first episode. Hamza Han City is a remote worker living in Dubai, artist, creator. We essentially met through a fellowship, a creator fellowship around making crypto videos, but we joined it because I think we're both creators and we would have applied to a bunch of other things if they would give us money to make videos, right? You are in the UAE. You're a remote worker in the
Correct.
in the
Yeah.
UAE. That's, I'm sure, been kind of an influential part of your journey. Maybe just share with us how you became a remote worker in the UAE. How maybe somebody else could become a remote worker in the UAE if they're interested in doing that, especially if they're coming from your background, and how that experience has helped you.
Yeah. So firstly, I would say for 99.99% of the people out there, this is more paradoxical because if you're a remote worker, you'd prefer being in places that are cheap and gives you more value for your money. The UAE is probably one of the most expensive places to live in generally, like in the whole world. And it's not really suited for remote work. Again, like when you're working remotely, you need to be at a place where there's more value for your money. And there are other places in the world, for example, Southeast Asia, where you're currently in. That's one of the best places because you get a lot for the amount of money that you pay, especially if you're earning in dollars or any pay that you're getting from the West. So my reasoning of being in the UA has little to do with my remote work and more to do with having a base, a general base. I don't see Karachi in Pakistan, that's a city where I was born in and grew up in, as a place that I want to set up base. I don't feel that it's inspiring for me to be there. So I need a base to set up. And the UA turned out to be the next best option. And that's why I'm here. I would still continue traveling the world eventually when I'm kind of settled here, when I know exactly how the base things is going. Currently, I've been a good boy and more or less been in the same place for the past 6 to 8 months.
And how is the UAE more inspiring than Karachi? What does the UAE
Yeah.
have Karachi lack?
Yeah. So for me, most of my life, I've felt that if you are able to find yourself in company of people coming from different places in the world, you're much able to not only take out more but give out more because everyone is coming with different stories, different experiences, different worldviews. And the UAE, the most diverse place in the world. If you look at tourism, you might argue there are places, for example, Bangkok. Everyone flies to Bangkok, sometimes, or Europe. But if you're talking about people living in a certain place, so you can't. I don't think I can think of any place where there's more diversity. And the UAE gives me an option to have access to most nationalities in the world, not only their nationalities, but how their worldview works, how their food tastes even. Like I enjoy great cuisine, and here you can find cuisine from all around the world. So it's just a place where you're able to find things that I'm not able to find in Karachi.
Like me, something as I've gotten to know you, like me, like our other friends, we're people who are very interested in creating art, but we're not at the point yet where our art is making money, which means that we have to balance work and art. What has that balance meant for you? That balance of work and art, and what does that balance mean for you now in the UAE, in Dubai, or in your life?
Yeah, that's a sore spot, bro. Because honestly, over the past few years, the course that we were both in was 2021, right? We started creating videos for that course, and I believe it started from August 2021, right? So we're almost 3.5 years down the lane. So we have been trying multiple iterations of trying to make that work or integrate those in our lives whilst having kitchen income or some income on the side to help us survive, to help us pay for what we want to do. And that balance for me has been very difficult because there are some times when I'm at work and I'm struggling at work and I'm like, okay, I want to focus at work because I don't want to get fired. And at that point, my art, the creative expression, just goes on the backdrop because I don't prioritize it as much, right? And then also down the line, I realized that maybe you're not that busy as much as you think you are, and having that as an excuse that I have work could be because I'm procrastinating and not trying to do my art in a way that I want to do it because I want it to be perfect, and I want it to be best, and I'm getting not a lot of time to make it perfect. So I have it as an excuse, like, okay, I need to pay my bills. That's why I can't pursue it now, and it keeps delaying and delaying. And I think over the past couple of months, that mindset has changed. Like, I haven't felt this way. Even like when we were doing that course, I haven't felt that thing as strongly as I do right now on what it means to prioritize your art or creation, or being a creator on a schedule, even if it means not, not being absolutely amazing. Even right now, like, we're doing this for the third time, like this is our third attempt to make this right, but we're doing it and we're finishing it and we're hopefully gonna push it. So that is what, for the past few months, it has been fairly different for me. I just want to keep putting things out, and I even if I have work, I have to manage it. I will sleep an hour less if I want to. I will take off from work if I have to, but I want to prioritize this as something as important as anything else in my life now.
Why do you think that change happened? Like why do you think now you feel most of this way than in the past?
More or less, it has been because a lot of time has passed since I've wanted to do this, and I believe the skills or the talent needed to be able to express in the way that I want to express has been there in, for a while. And as more and more time passes, like, I just turned 29 2 months ago. As more and more time passes, I feel like this is not going to change until I change it myself. You could always, when I was slightly younger, I could always put it on the fact that, okay, right now I have some time. Let me just focus on work right now, and do this slowly. But in the past, like I said, 3.5 years, I we got selected in this program because we were the top 50 applicants from the 7,000 8,000 application that they got. So we did have that, whatever spark, skill, whatever you want to call it, for us to be that single percentage of final people who got paid to make stuff, right? So it has been there in a while. And I realized that if I don't do something myself, I'll keep growing older. I'll keep putting my art on the side, and eventually I'd reach a point where it would, at least for me, I would think that now it doesn't matter because it has been so many years without me doing the things that I could have done.
Okay. What does work mean to you? Like right now you're also a paid professional. What does work mean to you? Does it mean income? Does it mean a sense of purpose? Do you see yourself doing art and work side by side? Or is the goal to be solely an artist? How does work fit into your life? And yeah.
Yeah. So I feel that for me, work is, I can't not work. That's one of those things. Like, for example, if I go on a holiday somewhere, if I don't do anything the entire day, I'm doing something the next day. So I like working. That's one thing. But the work itself can be different, right? For example, I have been in the marketing industry, like, as on the side, and content creation is a small part of it, but it's not necessarily the part of it. Like, I have been in positions where I'm not in charge of the content creation, but I'm in charge more of the overall marketing strategy, and this is what I do. Even now, the remote job that I have has more to do with me managing marketing channels as opposed to creating content. I enjoy it, I like it, but it's not producing art. Producing art is also work. And I would eventually want to be at a point where I'm able to produce my art while being able to make income from it. That's my preference towards the end of the day. But also, I don't mind doing marketing itself. Like, I'm not miserable in my non artistic pursuits, but I feel that I feel the most fulfilled while making my art, and I would want that fulfillment to increase over time as I am able to find more income streams that are more tied to my artistic pursuits.
Mhm. So your ultimate aim is to be in that position of a full time artist, creating the from their craft and being rewarded for that.
And here's the interesting part. Also, I wouldn't want my entire income coming through my art eventually, because
Mhm.
I would like to be at a place where I'm able to self fund some of my art that has no monetary aspect to it, but also just trying to put something that I want to put something out there. Because when you become an artist and when you're monetizing it, that you also have some constraints from wherever you're getting the streams of income from, right?
Mhm.
For example, if you're getting paid by a sponsor and you're talking about something, you're also limited or confined to talk about what you're able to talk about.
Mhm.
Also, a lot of times your audience expects something from you and they're paying you, and you're expected to stay within that boundary. So I wouldn't want my entire income to be tied to my art, because I want the privilege to be able to produce art that I want to produce, and not necessarily would make me money, but I want to produce that art.
Okay. So how do you see how do you imagine that that side income stream being? Is it you also working professionally in a non-creative or in a non your art capacity?
Look, currently that income is for sure me doing the remote job, but I see it eventually transitioning, and I'm building the basis for it into an entrepreneurial venture that I'm able to automate or loosely operate as a decision maker, and able to just get some income from there while I'm doing my art full time. I don't see any kind of job or any kind of employment to be that thing that would give me enough money to self-produce art the way that I want to. So it has to be an entrepreneurial venture. So that's also one of the core reasons why I'm in the UAE, because I'm able to have those opportunities where I can create something sustainable as a business that I can just then depend on for my income, and then focus on creating art full time.
Okay. So in your long-term creative vision, you still have this kind of like balance of work and art where you have some kind of business, some kind of entrepreneurial pursuit that is funding you financially, but at
Yeah.
the same time you're able it's a resource for you to, I assume, a bit live your best life and also create the art that you want to make.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice to have some income from my artistic side. I would want that, of course. Like, I wouldn't want to. I would want to make it as its own thing, and make it sustainable. But as Casey Neistat has this thing where he say, "I don't make videos to make money. I make money to make videos," and I'm pretty much aligned with that. When I get paid, I'm excited about how I can use this to make more exciting videos. You know, so it's not that okay, I can't wait to start making money from my videos. I'm like, okay, I can't wait to have the privilege to spend more money on me being able to make videos more often, or in a certain way. That's always has
Okay.
been the goal.
Okay. Some hardball, Hamza. Casey Neistat has also made a lot more videos than you. Why are you not making videos?
100%.
Why, why,
Yeah.
why, why, over the last few years, you've probably spent many, many hours in professional pursuits. You say that you're making money to make videos. Where are the videos?
Yeah, that's completely true, and that's completely valid. I would say that there has been, and it's been for too long. By the way, I don't say that it's a natural cycle of realizing things, but I've always felt from a very early age, because I think I've been around people who have always encouraged me. Like, a lot of people have people they want to prove wrong. I have people that I want to prove right, because people in my family, my friends, most people that have seen my stuff from the early ages have always encouraged me to continue doing what I'm doing. That I have a gift, that some of the things that I've done, it's really inspirational for them, and that has essentially put me in a place where I spend so much time thinking or visualizing or writing, uh, and not enough time having it produced, because every single time I feel like these are the 100 things wrong with it, and I don't want to disappoint the people who think that I have a gift, and it has sent me into a weird place where I'm daydreaming more. I'm writing a lot, but I'm not producing. When I sit down to produce, I see an angle. I'm like, okay, this angle is not good, so I won't produce this video. So I have been in a perpetual cycle of just dreaming more, writing more. If I open my content idea library,
Hmm.
there are like at least 300 to 400 ideas just written down.
Hmm.
50 or 60 of them have their scripts done. I think
Hmm.
10 or 15 of them have their clips produced, but they're stuck in the edit phase. And every single video, when I'm in the middle, it's much easier for me to just quit and work on something new, because I feel that is not the vision or the grand idea that I have in my head, and that
Okay.
has just consumed me for the longest time.
Okay. Yeah, I can definitely. I'm sure a lot of people in the creative field can definitely resonate with that. Or do you feel like you're at a turning point with that?
I still I still get snippets of it, but I think, by the way, the weekly creator community, that, like, just speaking to you, 15, and now a whole host of people just being there, I have grown I've grown to like the term creator on a schedule a lot, right? Because it's not a natural or organic thing. Like, usually when I start, art was more inspiration. I see something, I get inspired,
Yeah.
I take out a few time. There's no deadline, there's no timeline, there's no nothing, and you just produce how you want to produce. And that's how I operated in art for the majority of my life. But
Hmm.
being a creator on a schedule just shatters all of those things that you have. Because, for example, the idea is pretty simple for what we're doing, and I think you came up with it with yourself, and then you extended it to a lot of us, that, like, we want to upload once a week and that's it. So that really put me out of, like, for example, one of the videos that I produced, it was like, okay, there are just 5 hours left for the week to be up, and
Hmm.
it's 2 a.m. already. I opened my camera. My lights are somewhere else because I'm in the middle of a shoot. So my main camera, my lights, my microphone is at my client's place, and I just have a small little phone camera that I shot the video on, and I'm just whining about making this stupid video. It's 2 a.m. and I'm tired. And
Yeah.
at that point, that video got the most views out of any videos that I've ever produced.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
that shatters that perfectionist mindset that I had, because and it was enabled because I just gave myself the deadline. You are
Yeah.
a creator on a schedule. You have to upload once a week, no matter what. And
Yeah.
that video, that I personally think it's my worst video of all time, did became the most viewed video of all time, just because of that notion. So I
Hmm.
really feel it's a turning point, and I really hope that it continues to be. But I do see the reflections of the same thing that I had before about perfectionism and everything.
Yeah. 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 I definitely think like when we're talking about creativity and art and YouTube and all these things, like different people really need. I mean, everything. Like, different people need different advice, and for someone, it might be slow down and make this one better. For someone, it really might be that advice. There was a time when I was trying to make shorts every day, but not really thinking about making it a really quality story, scripting it. And for me at that time, it would have definitely somebody would have been like, "Hey, stop posting every day. Post once a week and make it really good." That probably would have been like really great advice, right?
Mhm.
And then and then for me again, when I got to a point where I wasn't posting very often, the opposite advice would have been true, which was like just post. So I think it's always
Yeah,
it's always going to be a balance between this quality and quantity cycle. But you got to have the I think you got to have the self reflection, self awareness to be like, no, I need to be putting more out there. And I think 99% of the time, that's probably where everybody is, especially if you're starting out. Like, especially if
yeah,
you're starting out, 99% of the time, the solution is just to do more. Okay.
yeah,
Obviously if it's the point where you're just kind of like churning out everything, pull back. But most of the time it's gonna be do more, like posting a weekly. Like I was also hearing Johnny Harris talk about this, and a lot of creators talk about the consistency and stuff, but it's just like it's reps. Like if this is what you want to do, you're going to make progress if you have the reps, and you're not going to make progress if you don't. The progress isn't going to come from you mentally fantasizing about each project. It's going to come through you experimenting and you creating. But what you're talking about the video that did fairly well, and I think this is fairly interesting. Um, uh, you've posted how many videos do you have on your YouTube channel right now?
If you include the shorts, it should be 8. I think I produced 5 long forms as of yet, and then 3 shorts.
Okay, so if we go to Han City, which is your YouTube channel, on the video side, you have 5 videos, and the last one was about a month ago, and you've posted, yeah. So 3 of those videos did as about as well as anyone would imagine someone with less than 100 subscribers would do. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a difficult place to start. You're starting a new channel, but 2 of those videos did extremely well for somebody
Yeah,
with that level. Right? Like one of the videos, the video where you talk about the fact that you don't want to be making a video, did
yeah,
1,400 views. So I want to talk a little bit about these videos, and I want to talk about why you think they did well, why I think they did well, and so
mm-hmm.
let's start. There's a more interesting video, which is the one you did last week, which I
Yeah.
want to get to as well. But first, let's talk about this one. Why do you think this particular video did well? The one where you're talking about the difficulty of consistency. It's not you just necessarily completely off the riff complaining. You're also talking about kind of like real things, real issues that real issues that you face with consistency, and real solutions that you see people around you having with for consistency, or how people are able to combat consistency. So it's a fairly educational video while keeping it genuine. But why do you think this video did well?
If I were to point it down, right, I feel that, and this extends to the next video as well. Like the insight that I have, it extended to the next video as well. Is I'm able to be at a place where I'm speaking to the audience from the perspective where they stand currently, because
Mhm.
I work in the self improvement niche. Like that's what I like. But I also like to add personal stories into that niche and not just tell people what to do, but show them what I'm doing right now and this is where I am. So just
Yeah.
sharing my journey and sharing my lessons that could be extended to other people. And in the video when I'm complaining or I'm talking about the fact that I don't want to make this video, makes it much more authentic or real because I'm in the middle of the journey as opposed to someone that is, teaching people or minions or people who are at the start to this is what you need to do to be consistent and this is what made me a millionaire. It would be like this is where I stand right now, which is exactly where everyone else is, and this is what I feel my friends. So the title is how my friends always beat me with consistency. So I'm speaking to them as someone who is them at this point, but also sharing the lessons where I
Yeah.
observe from my friends and hoping to put those into my life. So I think it came across as
Mhm.
authentic. It came across as someone who they can relate to more versus someone who has
Yeah.
already been past that point. This is what I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a very interesting point about the title. Most of the titles probably around this topic are going to be people telling you how to beat procrastination or how to be consistent. Whereas you're saying, hey, I struggle with consistency. And then you talk about it. So yeah, I definitely think agree with you on those points. Those are really kind of attractive and unique points in the current kind of YouTube landscape. And I also just think you're a very good talker. I think you're very
Mhm.
comfortable. I think you're very comfortable talking off the riff. And so it's kind of interesting to see how these different qualities we have can kind of play as advantages to us in the video format. I think
Yeah.
a lot of people jump to being like, oh, I'm not a good editor, I'm not a good, but being able to talk to people or on a topic and express yourself and organize your thoughts and have a certain level of confidence, I think goes a very long way. And it's one of those soft skills that I don't think people appreciate that much. You'll see videos where people are just talking to camera and be like,
Mhm.
oh, this girl, this guy is just like sitting on their bed, just talking about whatever, right? But it's like that looks easy, but it's not that easy. It's not that easy to
Mhm.
like be that comfortable in front of a camera and talk to people as though they're your friend, and show emotion and show all these things like I think it's one of those things that looks very easy to do, but isn't necessarily. Is that something that you're aware of? Is that something that you think you developed over time?
Yeah, I feel that okay. So I do have a background in, for example, I during my entire time in university, I was a very active participant in parliamentary debates.
Hmm.
I was at one point I was a debate captain of my university.
I also did debate in
Yeah.
high school.
So yeah, 100%. Like so, like you're in front of people and you're
Policy.
speaking, and
Yeah.
overall,
Yeah.
that muscle gets built. But
Hmm.
I also feel that also being someone who people are able to relate to, people would be more willing to listen. It's one of those things, like even in real life, if you find someone interesting, you're willing to give them more chances than you would to someone that you're neutral towards or negative towards. So I feel it's even about the topic. If I said something that is not relatable to people, or if I'm coming across as someone who's not relatable, then they, even with all the oratory skills in the world, they would be looking for that next dopamine hit, or else they'll just quit. So
Hmm.
being relatable, approachable, likable, or in any situation where someone just resonates with you, they're more willing to give you a chance in listening to you, even if it's not a lot of crazy visuals or not a lot of music. It's just one-on-one chatting. I feel it's a
Hmm.
combination of both.
Okay, so it's a combination of kind of your background and also this intentional effort to make it kind of this friendly approach to the camera.
Yeah. I never see myself as I always see myself as a learner. I feel weird when I say I'm an expert in something, for example. Like even when I use the term filmmaker, I tend to use the term videographer or video editor or content creator. So
Yeah.
it's not that experty vibes over there. So it's an extension of
Yeah.
who I am, how I approach things. So yeah, I just feel like if people like you, or if people want to listen to you, they would listen to you and give you a better chance to listen to.
Yeah. Okay. So the next video we have is called "To the Person Who Stole My AirPods Case." And honestly, when I first saw this video, I was like, 2 minutes long. Hamza, come on, man.
Yeah.
And then I watched it and I was like, wow, there was a lot of effort into this video. It's very clear and it's very well made. Like there's, you have yourself talking to yourself, and honestly one of the most fluid talking to yourselves I've ever seen. I don't know, I think maybe that's just your parliamentary kind of like acting experience, but yeah, it was good. And just like good, like, it was an impressive 2 minutes of you sharing a story. Um, and I had mixed feelings after watching it. I was like, this is impressive, and I also felt um, a little, a little bit kind of jealous.
Mhm.
I don't know if jealous is the right word, but a little bit like I'm really impressed by the level when I see people doing things creatively and taking a risk creatively. And I would say like a lot of these videos you're doing, they're taking
Mhm.
risks creatively because they're not they're not tapping into some story, they're not answering some search query. They're videos about topics you want to talk about told in a creative
Yeah.
way. So two things: one, why do you think this video did well? And two, like,
Mhm.
where does that it's one topic it's a topic I've actually been thinking about a lot, and I've kind of coined in my head as creative confidence. But like where do like where does that come from? Like what's your relationship to that creative confidence and making choices like that?
Yeah. Yeah. So the video currently has 2,600 views, which I always feel like because I started this channel out very recently, and for a majority of the people, like, okay, 2,600 views, there are videos of 20 million and 15 million, but I like to imagine a room where there are 2,600 people, like a theater, a huge theater, where 2,600 people are watching the video being played there, right? So
Yeah.
I see it as a huge milestone because 2,600 people clicked and saw what I worked on for two straight. Some of them, like half of them, watched it for 2 straight minutes. So it's a huge number, and I feel like it did really, really, really well in my terms. Even if in normal terms, it's like okay, right? Why do I think it did well? I really think that people did not expect what they were clicking on. So the video is like to the person who stole my iPods, and then the thumbnail is my AirPods without the case. So the case was stolen. I still have the AirPods, and the thumbnail was just my AirPods with the missing case, and then a thank you, a huge thank you in the text. So
Mhm.
when this thing comes in front of people, it's like okay, this guy's AirPods case got stolen, which is okay, but it kind of sucks. And this guy's thanking this person, so it breaks the stigma of how someone would usually react to their things being stolen. Like I would probably be like, I should have been angry, but I'm thanking him for doing that. So I think someone who clicked on it because of curiosity, but they have no idea they're walking like in the video, like they have zero clue what they're looking at. I think that is what I want when people start watching my stuff. I don't want them to know exactly what's coming. And again, it's a self improvement niche, and it's being
Mhm.
pushed to people who are in the self improvement niche. And every
Mhm.
single time when you look at the videos of that niche, it's more like three things you can use to improve your life. These three purchases changed my life. So you kind of know the flow and everything, like it's there. So I think it's an element of surprise and curiosity. Like the moment you're walking into a theater to watch a movie,
Mhm.
you don't know exactly what's happening, right?
Mhm.
Some people even avoid watching the trailers of films because they want to be surprised. They want to
Mhm.
jump into those emotions. I feel that curiosity would be the thing that made people click on this video because breaking that stigma. And why did people like it? So I got around 90 subscribers from that video so thus far, which is pretty cool for my fifth, essentially fifth video of
Mhm.
long form.
On this channel.
Yeah. Yes.
I always gotta say that because, like, you got these creators who like been making it. It's no, there's no overnight success.
Yeah, 100%. This would be my eighth channel, and my most famous, the best that I've gotten is around 20,000 subscribers that I deleted a few years ago. That's a different story. But yeah, it's on this channel. And then why did people enjoy it? I just feel it's, again, the authenticity. I'm like a normal human being. I'm like everyone else whose AirPods case got stolen. I'm like everyone else who does not have the budget to just go out and outright buy new cases. I'm just like everyone. And even in that channel, if you notice the comedy or the sketch bits, me still being frustrated with it. It was a lesson in gratitude for sure, but you can see the real human emotions where behind the scenes, I'm still angry about it. I'm still mad about it. But I'm trying to find that rainbow, that little
Yeah.
thing that I got from it because that's what I was going through. So I
Mhm.
feel authenticity, it being relatable, it having that element of surprise.
And I would say a large part of it is the creative storytelling. So what is it that motivates you? Like, as a creator myself, every time I want to make a lot of creative choices, I'm held
Mhm.
back by the fear of, is it worth it? Like, is it
Mm.
worth it to do this, to do that, to put this energy into telling this story in a creative way? And it's a real barrier for me because
Yeah,
a lot of the time I'm like, man, if this doesn't get a lot of views,
yeah,
I just spent all that time like trying to
yeah,
tell a creative story. I'm probably
yeah.
thinking about it the wrong way, you know. Maybe, and
I have a few like comments on this. Firstly, it goes back to what I previously mentioned. I'm not like I would love to make money from my videos. I would love it, and I want to do it, and eventually I will. I know I have that faith. I have that trust. But I do not have the structure to getting from where I am to me making money from my YouTube. It could be uh, a Patreon account where I just share my scripts or I release my video once, 1 or 2 days before the actual release. It could be some t-shirts. I don't know exactly. But my
Mhm.
goal from my YouTube channel should be right now it's to creatively express in a way where it's able to relate meeting in the middle, like being my creative self, being my authentic self. but also people taking value from it, as opposed to, it being just like a visual grandeur without any substance. So because I'm not thinking monetization, I'm thinking creating the best thing that I can while being creatively truthful to myself. I don't
Mhm.
feel held back because I enjoy the process itself. Like the last video, it was really fun for me to make. Like, I enjoyed it
Yeah,
from the moment I started writing the script. I was giggling the moment because it has some comedic elements. So I was laughing at my own jokes. From when I was doing it, I was laughing at the whole thing. Like it was an
yeah,
enjoyable process. So yeah, I think if and it's because your niche is also travel, so there's some expectations people are looking for informational value as opposed to entertainment value or philosophical
yeah.
value from
But
stuff. So
I think
people,
I
yeah,
I think you pointed out something really important, and I've gone through phases of this. I'm sure you've gone through phases of this where our relationship to our art changes, and early on, I was making a lot more kind of creative out there choices with the videos I was making, poetry videos and rap videos and just trying these different kind of things. And I think a big part of it is now like I'm in a place professionally where I kind of need this to work. And I think
yeah,
if you listen to like Rick Rubin's book or other people, generally the idea is if you need it to work, that's a bad place to be in as an artist. It's a bad place to be in as an artist because you're not in that creative play. You're in that kind of work, commerce, money, right? So I'm putting effort into finding a balance because I know how vital the balance is to this being what I need it to be, which is that creative expression. Otherwise, it doesn't have any meaning for me. I don't want it to turn into a business that just defeats the purpose and would leave me feeling empty. So for me, it's meant kind of like, hopping, like doing like one kind of like travel video, something that's informative, and then doing one video that is kind of a video essay on a topic that I want to tell. But it's a difficult balance because even as I'm doing those video essay topics, I'm like, oh, like I could be doing a travel video that could like be increasing my reach, my audience,
yeah,
and like could be helping me towards that professional goal. I'm like,
yeah,
this, it's almost like two sides of me looking at my creative work, right? And
yeah,
and 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 yeah, I think it hurts the artist side, so it's a really tough balance to have, and that's why I think it is really important to have the bills paid,
yeah.
to have professional work, because the more strain you have on you, I think the less you're able to make those creative choices.
I agree with you 100%, and I also feel like there's definitely a balance. So, for example, like for me, I feel like if I only tell my personal stories, right? For example, if the AirPods video had no lesson in gratitude, it had no lesson in being grateful and being okay with the things that you have, and I removed that self improvement element out of it, it would just be a random video where I'm just being frustrated because someone stole my case, right? So it's always a balance of what the audience take value or impact from. I like to see my work as a combination. I don't like to see it as to make it work or famous. I would like to see it as impactful. Like
Yeah,
I want it to be as much impactful as possible while retaining my creative expression. Like I want to creatively express in a way that it's the most impactful,
yeah, but
and
it's
that
creative
impact
risk.
could be,
You're taking creative
yeah.
with some of these topics that you're choosing, even if you're telling them creatively. It feels to me, at least from an outsider, it feels to me like you're taking creative risk, more creative risk than, for example, I'm taking or
Mhm.
15 is taking with the topics he's addressing. Does it feel that way to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah, 100%. Because I'm more detached with the monetary aspect. Uh,
Mhm.
but also, if you take my, like, we talked about two of my videos, right? My previous video, why my friends always beat me with consistency, that's more or less self improvement, was just a pint or just a hint of creative storytelling because there's nothing there. But I'm telling my personal story, right? So and that got like half of the views that this video got. So I'm also trying to have that balance, like more creative expression, less on the lessons, more art, less of the discussion or the dialogue, more presentation. So I'm also every week I'm trying to turn up the tap to the cold or the hot and trying to find my perfect balance where it's the
Yeah.
most impactful for people and also it's I'm able to take that creative risk.
What does authenticity mean to you in art? Like, what is the importance of it? What does it mean to you in your relationship to your art?
Yeah, I feel that being authentic means that you're able to express what you're going through in the moment, and that's and I personally feel because I'm feeling the most. I in every single week, I ask myself what I'm going through currently, what are the lessons that I can get out of it, and then I just produce on it. So for me, it's me pouring who I am at this moment, what I feel at this moment, and being able to express it through art in a way that is impactful or valuable for other people. Both of the videos that did well showcase my core emotion of what I was going through it, and that built out something that nobody else can. You can have 1,000 videos on consistency, but maybe someone who is in my who's not consistent wouldn't be making a video about being consistent. So it places me in a unique position where I'm able to create something that people might not find. I'm not saying my stuff is original. All I'm saying is the things that I'm going through, I'm able to express it in a way where most people in the same niche or the same industry or on the same platform wouldn't be approaching it as. It becomes something that is more real, authentic, and more enjoyable for the people because they're used to seeing everything else that is very similar in its format.
Mhm. So you're sharing how like authenticity is valuable for the art you create in terms of the quality of the art you create for the audience. Does it also is it also important to how you feel about your art? Is like being more or less authentic change how you feel in the creation process?
I think it's one of the core essentials for me. Like if I had to create a checklist on the videos that I do, I would put authenticity on the very top of it. Like that's how I want to approach videos, and that's why also my videos are. I don't want to use the word weird, but I want to say that unlike anything that people have seen before, because I'm just being myself in a format, and that just this spills over the entire narrative.
So is that an intentional choice to be more, let's say, creatively pure?
Yeah, 100%. Because I know if it doesn't do well in the view count, if it doesn't do well on the statistics or making me money, I know it's something that I enjoyed creating because I'm just being me, but with some toys, you know.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Okay, so share with me just a little bit about how being traveling has informed your creativity. What does that do for you creatively?
I would say that most of the times that I've traveled, my video output has been stagnant. Like if I could go back in time right now, I would probably have my camera in my hand much more often than it was there, but it did inform me a lot about stories and people. And even in a few of like out of the 5 videos, I think 2 of them heavily depend on something that I went through while I was traveling because it was extensive. It was the first time that I had ever done a long-term traveling where I'm staying in a place for more than a month. I met very interesting people, learned very interesting lessons. So I did not have the camera on me because at that time I did not realize how can I storytell this or creatively, authentically talk about this. It has always given me more and more perspective on things work. And I feel a lot of it is reflected in my current videos as well, even if it's not there as face value. Like I'm not talking about this came through my travels, but a lot of it, a lot of how I think about things, a lot of how my worldview is today came from the travel expeditions that I've had over the past 2.5 years. So yeah, the next time I travel again, I want it to be more in the moment. I want to capture the stories as they're being told. But up until now, it has been more or less of a me taking a lot of notes. Like I literally have travel logs I have a lot of notes, and whenever I'm making a video, I make sure to go through them to see if I can add something from it.
Mhm. So one kind of like purpose of me starting this podcast is also to, I mean, creativity I think is such a important part of what it is to be human, but it's not the only part. There are other parts to us. You know, one that, going to the name of the podcast, walking home. The home for me is this idea of this place, this feeling of deep sense of ease and belonging and connection and presence. What is your, what does that mean to you? What's your relationship with home? What's your relationship with making progress towards home?
Yeah, I feel in more recent years I've realized more or less that we change as human beings a lot. Like we're changing every single day, right? In a lot of ways. But there's this core inside of us that is the exact same and has been. But the core idea is that there is something inside of us that goes beyond our physical realm, and that something is a soul for most people, or you we can refer to as a soul. And I feel that the soul has some things in it. It's a complete form that is there, and where basically when I listen to Walking Home, I know that the home is right there, but I got lost or like shuffled in the world, and I'm walking towards something that already has been inside of me, and I just need to go through the hoops or the hurdles to kind of meet that thing that I already am. Even with the creative story, like the part of me being authentic and then getting things as they are, I know for a fact that if I don't make a video on this, the emotions would be lost. Like we go through so many things. Like yesterday, my case got stolen. Today could be anything. Tomorrow could be anything. So if I don't pick that core part of the emotion that day, and if I'm not able to make the thing whilst I'm feeling that, then it's just lost forever. And for me, artistic or the creative expression is more or less capturing that moment in its raw core form and being able to tell it to other people, because I know exactly a lot of people around the world go through the same thing, but they're unable to put a name to it. They're That's why art itself, like when people listen to music like 100 times, they're listening to it because they feel the exact thing, but someone puts words and music to it for them to be able to do that. And for me, that is the exact same thing. Like if I go through something, I know exactly someone else is going through it, and I want to make something on it to be able to realize what I feel internally in my soul. I don't know if it makes sense, but this is how
Yeah, yeah,
I
definitely,
personally see it.
definitely. So, um, I think creativity art is an important kind of tool for you on your path home, on your sense, on finding more and more your sense of home, your sense of wherever that, whatever that is. What is the, is there other ways you're approaching that, other tools, ways you're thinking about that, of finding that sense of integration with yourself, that sense of completeness, that sense of belonging, that sense of like where you want to be, not externally but internally.
Yeah, I feel the core foundation of whenever I feel like close to being fulfilled or close to to feeling my best self. I think every single time it involves someone outside of me, like another human being or a community or whatever, like just a friend that like that. I feel it's deeply integrated to be influenced by people around you, or being helpful to people around you, or people being helpful to you. I feel like it has this same kind of core foundation. So even when I'm not when I'm going through the creative expression, it's more about targeting the human condition and reminding us that we're only human. And I feel that even during traveling, because I never had the camera in my hand, but I was so inspired because I was able to have access to so many people. And I think I would rate other people and just interaction, positive, influential, or even negative. Like all of these things are like it's a yin yang kind of thing. I feel that it has more to do with the sense of the communal aspect of life. I feel like that's where I find the most fulfillment.
Yeah. And is that something you seek out? Is that something that you try to advance in your life? Um,
100%. I'm really curious. I approach people if I'm feeling brave or confident. I randomly approach people. If I see someone and I find like they're wearing a nice coat, I try to compliment them. If I so I am very active in bringing more human connections in my life, and I'm active also in sending positive whatever towards other people if I have the ability to.
yeah. Yeah, I think that's such a beautiful note because yeah, like in my personal experience, I think it's so easy to forget how important a sense of community is. We have like all these ideas of personal development and being alone and these kind of things, but we're relational beings, and and the relationship we have with all the people we come in contact with, or are in contact with, is so vital, I think, to the quality of our lives. Like we're constantly in relation to so many people that we think about and don't think about, and so many of those relations are either neglected or like not really cared for, not really positive. What I found is like being even 1% more intentional about those relations, even 1% more intentional
Yeah.
about like the random person you meet, or your landlord, or your mom and your dad or your sister, or whoever you're in contact with, even being 1% more intentional about like having a positive relation with that person brings joy, whereas having the not having that brings a sense of emptiness. So I think community is like really, I've also, like, as time passes, I've found it really underrated part of what is life. I
Yeah.
sit I sit for meditation every day, but a primary purpose of me sitting for meditation every day is to improve how I relate to other people.
Mm.
Meditation is helpful
Yeah.
and it has its own benefits, but I think a really big benefit of it is informing the quality of my relationships with other people, and making those relationships, making me more present, making me less irritable, making me more
Yeah.
patient, making me more sensitive to how they're feeling. So, like, part of communication is listening. So yeah, community
Yeah. I completely
is
agree
so
with you. And
important.
also I feel so, for example, I'm not sure if we talked about this in this version of the podcast because we're doing it for the third time, but when I moved here, I'm not currently in like the places that I've lived in, especially back home. The places are big. Like my room is good, spacious. I get my independence and everything. And when I moved in here, it was just like a closet. That was my first video on my YouTube channel. At that point, a lot of people around me, like my wider friends who are essentially living at better places here, when they visited, when they saw the photographs, they were like, "How do you live here?" Even my mom is like, "How do you live here?" Like, what, like, but I also had like 30 other people living with me in the same space, right? And every single time I interact with them in the kitchen and generally just chatting with them, all of those things, it just made me feel like, okay, why can't I do it? There's 29 other people doing it. And it just gave me the strength to keep going because I saw these people who were
Yeah,
like me and who were going through this. And I would, if imagine if I was just living there by myself and the moment I got out of the apartment, it would have never been as easy as it was for me because I was able to relate, connect with people who are living in the same place. So, I mean, if it's not there, you can't just go through life itself. Like you need people around you to go
yeah,
through stuff.
yeah, 100%. Like one of the big realizations, especially when I was solo traveling, was like, I need, for my mental health, I need to make community a part of my life. So whether that's going to events or group activities or whatever, I need to make that part of my life because yeah, it's so vital. It's so important. Like you said, you can be going through a seemingly difficult, challenging kind of life experience, but because you have a community around you, that experience can transform into something else. And I think that's very
Hmm.
true around the
Yeah.
world. You know, there are people living at different levels of privilege, and there are people with far more privilege that are far more miserable because they lack that sense of community, and the people with far less privilege who are are who are far happier, who are far more happy because they have people around them who care about them, and they feel that sense of care and love, and they take care of each other, and that's a beautiful part of like feeling happy. It's not it turns out it's not just, you know, having expensive things.
Yeah, 100%. And it aligns a lot with how you like your newsletter, for example. I see it always has that sense. And even with your videos, I feel like when you say the creative risk, I do want to give you your flower when it comes to, like, for example, when I watch your videos and I watch other travel videos, I feel your videos are always, even if the dialogue itself is like you always have something that is more geared towards me feeling that human emotions. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the visuals that you use, maybe how you speak, or maybe how it's script, or maybe the pacing or something. But you do have that human aspect to it consistently throughout all of your avenues, be it your newsletter or your videos or even your Instagram stories. I feel that thing there. So I think it's really important to have the establishment, in your that here, even in the first episode, that this is being emphasized, because I see that your entire brand, I want to use the brand again, it is monetized, right? It just makes it an entity that exists for profit, but your entire vibe with the project that you're doing is has that to the core of it, I think.
I appreciate that, bro. Yeah, I think you know who we are in our journey translates to everything else we do. So I think, you know, working on our sense of peace and presence and relation to other people and whatever, however much we make progress in that is going to translate into the quality of the things we make, and the opposite, however much we lack in that is going to translate. So like, you know, I think that's something, you know, we all struggle with all kinds of balance, whether it's work, art. We all struggle with all kinds of balance. There are times when I'm like, I got to work on this project, but you know, should I get a few more hours in, or should I go meditate for today, you know? And it's
Yeah.
a hard choice. It's a hard choice sometimes, you know, but when it comes down to it, you know, I'm more and more learning that that's it changes everything else. It changes my relationship to my work, my relationship to my partner, my relationship to my friends, my relationship to my creativity,
Hmm.
and that's worth it. That is worth it. And losing that perspective that our own personal journey is important, I think ultimately leads to self-destructive acts. Our creativity can be self-destructive. I think it can be, you
Yeah.
know, we can move against authenticity towards something that we're not even proud of. Our relationships, everything. So
Yeah. And also,
it's
like,
all
for
connected.
me, like I said, my perfectionism disorder comes from the knack of wanting to be authentic, right? When I'm abandoning projects, I'm like, okay, this lacks soul, right? So it can be
Yeah.
destructive. It can be, as you mentioned initially, like sometimes we're in phases where we need to ask people to be more authentic, or sometimes we're in the phase where we need to people asked to ship things because you're not doing anything and there's zero output. So I'm pretty sure you're going to find that balance in there as you do it. And I remember you talked about a concept that you learned from another fellow YouTuber. It was about one for them and one for yourself. Like, are you still practicing that concept for your videos?
I am, I am, yeah. It's just to
Did you
some
want to?
degree. I mean,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
it's not necessarily kind of like as explicit as that always, but
Mhm.
it is in that sense, like looking at the videos I'm producing and being like, okay, this last video was kind of like a travel video. I also want to be putting out, which is fine. Like I like the travel, like for me, the travel video is also fun. If they
Mhm.
weren't fun material for me to be making, I wouldn't make it.
Yeah.
But there's also like other things I care about and want to talk about and share. So yeah, it's really important for me to be looking at it and being like, is there balance here? Or
Yeah.
if it looks unbalanced, try to rebalance it. I got two of those kind of like interesting questions to end on. One is, share with us a book or a movie or some type of media that was pivotal in your life, that came into your life and changed how you view. That was pivotal. It changed how you
Yeah,
view
I actually literally
life
have
or
the book
art.
right, but
Yeah.
my webcam is like resting on top of it, so I don't want to risk taking it
Okay.
out. But
Okay.
it's the book is really famous, probably one of the most famous books in the world, and really simple read. It's How to Win Friends and Influence People
Okay.
from I believe
Dale
Dale
Carnegie.
Carnegie. And I grew up as someone who was antisocial. I have some tendencies, ADHD, and all of those things, and I always felt that I did not, which is kind of ironic because I want to create stuff about the human condition and how human beings relate to, but I have struggled for a majority part of my life relating to other people and just what to say, what to talk about. So this book essentially enabled me to act like a normal human being, and I read it. It's like my essential reads. Like every 4 or 5 months, I reread this book, and this has been something I've been doing for a decade. It just tells you on how to create human relationships, and that's the most important part in my life. How to create, sustain, balance, great relationships, and then this book just has the blueprints to do it. So I always refer back to it. I'm always thinking if I'm following the principles shown in the book, and it has helped me in every single part of my life. There is no single part where I feel that this book has not played its role.
So it's actually a book that like years ago when I was a young teen, I kind of picked up, just feeling kind of like lonely and I don't have friends. And I think I kind of started it, but never continued it. But hearing that it's been really impactful on you, it's something that I'll definitely look into again because
Yeah.
I think yeah, just going back to it, that the quality of our relationships with other people is something I think a small improvement in it can really make a huge improvement in our lives.
Yeah.
So appreciate you sharing
100%.
that. That was that
Yeah.
was that was that was an impactful book for you. One last question over here. What advice would you give to your past self, to your younger self, if there's like, if you look back at, and this could be a few years ago, this could be a decade ago, if you look back at a certain point within your life where you wish you had received advice that you from knowledge you have now, when and what kind of what advice would you give?
I don't want to pick a certain period. I feel that every single year since 2012, ever since I got out of high school, every single year has not been the same for me. So it has been like I'm okay and proud of my progress. Like every single year I had something to do. I was working on interesting things. And that has been the case up until now. And hopefully it should be the case in the future as well. The advice that I would like to give to that very same person that started after I graduated high school would be to take more action. I took action in various places, but I did not take actions in various more. For example, we're talking about art. I wish I had put out more art. I wish I had been putting stuff more and thinking less. That's what I haven't done. I wish I had said some things to the people that I wanted to say to, and I was too scared to say it. I wish I had followed the intuition that I was thinking and not chickened out of it. So just take more action. I think action is a solution to everything, especially if you tend to overthink, if you tend to be anxious or have one of those tendencies to ruminate. Just do more, think less, or do first or and think later. Something
Yeah.
along this line.
Okay. So a little bit of like overcoming fear barriers and moving forward on things that maybe
Yeah, I
you
mean,
overthink
I
about.
think fear would always be there. I feel even the times when someone walks up to me and said that was amazing, like you were so confident and things like that, I know that I'm dying inside in a lot of those things. So I've come to the terms that I it's the goal would not be to eliminate fear. The goal would be to take action in the face of fear. So I'm
Yeah,
not actively trying to be less fearful. I'm trying to be actively more brave. Like
right.
even the fear shouldn't be influencing negatively on my experience
Right.
or the
Not
things
letting,
that I
not,
decide.
not, okay. Okay. Excellent. Thank
Yeah.
you, Mr. Han City. I appreciate you coming on this first episode of the Walking Home podcast. I'm sure I would love to have you on more in the future.
Thank you so much, Nasir.
Appreciate
It was lovely. And also, I was looking forward to have a chat with you. I think we both have so much
Yeah.
going in
It's
our
been
lives.
it's been
So
a it's been a while.
yeah,
That's one
it's
of the
nice.
hopes. That's one of the major hopes for this podcast is it's easy to look at any endeavor I take right now and think about the possibilities, but the end within itself is that I get to have great conversations with people I'm interested in talking to, and this was
Yeah.
definitely
And
that.
you also gave me my next video idea, by the way.
Okay,
So that's
what's it
also nice because I'm
coming?
living through this.
Okay, looking forward to a video this week. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, 100%. It's coming up.